Every morning, the world gives you two choices. Take control of your mind or surrender it before the day begins. Be honest when you wake up. Do you lead your thoughts, or do your thoughts lead you? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts," reminding us that our first thoughts shape our entire day. Most people wake up rushing, reacting, and drowning in distraction. Their mornings are chaotic, so their minds become weak. But the Stoics understood a simple truth. If you win the morning, you win the day. Your first hour is not random. It is the training ground where you build discipline, clarity, and inner strength. Today, I'll share 8 powerful Stoic practices to help you build a strong mind every single morning, so the world doesn't decide who you are, you do. Let's begin. 1. Strengthen your first thought. Begin the day with intention. Your morning does not start when you check your phone or when you leave your bed. It starts the moment your eyes open and your awareness returns. That first thought you allow into your mind quietly shapes the rest of your day. Many people wake up and immediately fall into old reactive patterns. They reach for their phones, scroll through notifications, read messages, compare themselves to others, absorb negative news, and instantly feel pressure or anxiety. Without realizing it, they give away control of their mind before the day has even begun. When you start your morning in reaction, you allow the outside world to decide your inner state. This single habit weakens your mental foundation and makes you feel scattered, rushed, or irritated, even before you've spoken a word. The Stoics understood the incredible power of the very first thought. They believed that to control your day, you must first control the moment you wake. This is why they trained themselves to pause before doing anything else. They reminded themselves that simply waking up is a blessing not guaranteed, not owed, and therefore it must be respected with awareness. When you wake up, take a slow breath and acknowledge that you have been given another day to grow, another day to try again, another day to practice becoming better than you were yesterday. This simple recognition shifts your mindset from survival to purpose. Instead of dragging yourself into the day with fear, irritation, or laziness, guide your mind with intention. Tell yourself who you choose to be today. You might say, "Today, I choose to be calm, even if things go wrong. I choose to be disciplined, even when I don't feel like it. I choose to stay grateful for every blessing. I choose courage over fear." These small statements may seem insignificant, but they send a powerful message into your subconscious, giving it direction and clarity. Your subconscious mind is always listening, always waiting for instructions. If you don't lead it, it will fall back into old patterns of procrastination, worry, and self-doubt. By setting an intention, you are no longer living on autopilot. You are actively shaping your inner reality before the outer world interferes. This is the first step toward building a strong mind. It tells your brain that you are in charge, not your emotions, not your circumstances, not your past. When your morning begins with strength, the world feels less threatening. You stop reacting to everything and start responding with wisdom. You stop letting distractions decide your energy. Life naturally becomes more manageable because you have already planted the seed of control. When your mind wakes with clarity, the day bends toward your purpose instead of pulling you in every direction. This is what the Stoics meant: to own your first thought is to own your day. And when you own your day, you begin to own your life. 2. Train your body first. Movement builds discipline. The moment you wake up, your body is in a state of stillness. If you allow that stillness to continue for too long, your mind also becomes slow, dull, and passive. Most people start their morning by remaining in bed, scrolling on their phone, or moving lazily through their routine. This signals the mind that comfort is the highest priority, and once the mind accepts that message, it becomes much harder to break out of laziness throughout the day. The Stoics understood that the body and the mind are deeply connected. When you discipline your body, you discipline your thoughts. When you allow your body to drift into comfort, your thinking becomes weaker, and your ability to make strong decisions declines. This is why beginning your morning with physical movement is so powerful. It does not need to be extreme or complicated. You don't have to run a marathon or go to the gym for hours. Even small actions create powerful internal shifts. Stretching, walking, a few push-ups, or slow breathing exercises awaken your physical energy. These movements tell your brain, we are active, we are in control, we are willing to do hard things. You start feeling more alert, focused, and confident. It becomes easier to take action instead of postponing what needs to be done. Every time you move your body in the morning, you are practicing the art of doing what is necessary, not just what feels comfortable. This is the foundation of discipline. Discipline does not come from wanting to do something. It comes from doing what you must, regardless of how you feel. Marcus Aurelius wrote that if something is right or necessary, you should do it without hesitation. Early movement is the simplest way to practice this principle. You are proving to yourself that your feelings do not control you. You control your feelings. The physical benefits are important, but the mental benefits are far more significant. When you move in the morning, you clear mental fog, sharpen your focus, and build emotional resilience. You become more stable and less affected by stress. Your mind learns to respond rather than panic. This small victory sets the tone for the entire day. You feel stronger internally, which makes you more prepared to face challenges, solve problems, and stay grounded in uncomfortable situations. Movement also breaks inertia, the invisible force that keeps people stuck. Inertia is the reason people procrastinate, avoid their goals, and remain trapped in routines that sabotage their growth. But once you take the first active step, the rest of the day becomes easier. You have already built momentum in your favor. By simply moving your body early, you send a message to your inner self that today is a day of action, not avoidance. It is not the exercise itself that matters the most. What matters is the signal it sends to your brain. Each time you choose to move your body instead of staying comfortable, you train your mind to become stronger. You build an identity that says, I do hard things first. I show up even when it is difficult. That identity becomes your shield throughout the day. When challenges appear, you no longer collapse. You have already practiced strength in the morning, so your mind remembers that you are capable. Small morning movement builds courage. It teaches you that growth always lies outside your comfort zone. The more you practice this daily, the easier it becomes to face life's unexpected difficulties. A strong body supports a strong mind. When your muscles wake, your spirit wakes. When you move forward physically, your thoughts follow the same direction. That is the Stoic way. Strength is trained, not wished for, and the training begins with your first steps each morning. 3. Guard your mind from noise. Choose stillness before distraction. In today's world, the first thing most people do when they wake up is reach for their phones. Within seconds, their mind is flooded with information messages, notifications, social media, videos, and news. Without realizing it, they open the doors of their inner world to noise before they have even fully entered the day. This habit sets the emotional tone for everything that follows. It pulls the mind into confusion, comparison, fear, and unnecessary stimulation. You might not notice it consciously, but this early exposure silently weakens your ability to focus, think clearly, and stay grounded. The mind becomes restless before it has a chance to find its center. The Stoics understood something we often forget. The mind must be protected, especially in its most vulnerable moments. When you first wake up, your brain is like soft clay, easily shaped, easily influenced. Whatever you expose it to becomes the foundation of your thoughts. If your first input is chaos, your day becomes chaotic. If your first input is stillness, clarity rises. This is why the Stoics practiced quiet reflection in the morning. They began their day with inner awareness, not external noise. They believed that silence was not emptiness, but power. In silence, you meet your real self, the part of you that is calm, wise, and capable of guiding your life. Choosing stillness does not require anything complicated. It simply means allowing your mind to wake up naturally without immediately feeding it stimulation. Take a few slow breaths. Sit with your thoughts. Observe how you feel. Notice what is happening inside before you interact with the outside world. These small moments strengthen your ability to understand yourself. They create mental space between you and your emotions, so instead of reacting impulsively, you respond thoughtfully. When you quiet your mind in the morning, you become aware of your worries, your desires, your thoughts, and through awareness, you gain control. Today, people feel constantly anxious, distracted, and overstimulated, not because life is harder, but because they allow their mind to be invaded from the moment they wake. They forget that attention is their most valuable resource. What you give your attention to shapes your reality. If you begin your day with noise, you lose control before you have a chance to claim it. But if you begin with silence, you start from a place of strength. You are the one choosing how to feel, think, and act. Stillness allows your emotional state to settle. You are less likely to be triggered by small problems. You do not immediately rush into stress. Your inner world becomes steady, even if the outside world is chaotic. This is the core of Stoic training, not avoiding the world, but preparing yourself so the world cannot easily disturb you. A calm morning builds a calm mind, and a calm mind makes better choices. Your productivity improves, your focus deepens, and your interactions with others become more patient and thoughtful. This quiet time also gives you space to connect with your values. When you do not drown in distractions, you remember what truly matters. You can reflect on your goals, your purpose, and the kind of person you want to be. Instead of living on autopilot, you take ownership of your life. Stillness becomes your anchor, grounding you from within. Think of your mind like a house. If you leave all the doors open, anyone can walk in noise, negativity, anxiety, and distraction. But if you close the doors and protect your space, only what you allow inside can enter. When you start your morning in silence, you close the doors. You tell yourself, "My mind belongs to me first." This small act is a declaration of inner authority. It teaches you that peace is not given to you by the world, you create it. The world will always be noisy. There will always be demands, messages, responsibilities, and pressures. But when you choose stillness before stepping into the world, you step in prepared. You begin the day from a position of internal power rather than vulnerability. You are centered, and therefore the world cannot easily pull you off balance. This is how strong minds are built, not by avoiding life, but by preparing for it through early quiet, reflection, and mental protection. When you make silence your first companion each morning, you reclaim your mind. You remind yourself that your inner world is sacred. You strengthen your ability to guide your day rather than letting your day guide you. 4. Feed your mind noble thoughts. Read something that elevates you. Your mind is like a garden. If you do not plant anything in it intentionally, weeds will grow by default. Thoughts, like seeds, shape your inner world. Every day you wake up with a choice. Either fill your mind with ideas that make you wiser, calmer, and stronger, or allow the world to fill it with noise, negativity, and shallow distractions. Most people choose the second option without even realizing it. They begin their day absorbing random content, social media posts, gossip, advertisements, and entertainment. Even if it seems harmless, this input slowly pulls the mind toward confusion and emotional instability. The Stoics believed that the quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your life. When you feed your mind something uplifting first thing in the morning, you set the tone for your entire day. This is why reading or listening to something noble, wise, or inspiring is so powerful. It may be a page from a Stoic philosopher like Marcus Aurelius or Seneca, a passage from a spiritual text, or a few lines of deep, reflective writing. What you read does not have to be long, it simply has to be meaningful. The purpose is to remind your mind of truth, strength, and virtue before the world distracts it with superficial concerns. When you read wisdom in the morning, your perspective expands. You stop thinking only about your problems and start thinking about possibilities. You begin to observe life more clearly. Instead of drowning in worries, you rise above them. Your thinking becomes sharper and more stable. You become less reactive and more aware. The words you absorb in the morning act like anchors that keep you steady when challenges appear later in the day. Feeding your mind noble thoughts protects you from mental pollution. If you start your day with negativity, it becomes difficult to stay calm because your mind has already been poisoned. But if you begin with wisdom, you naturally become more grounded. You do not react emotionally to small inconveniences. You do not allow petty conflicts to consume your energy. Instead, you navigate life with patience and clarity. This practice also shapes your identity. When you repeatedly expose yourself to high-level thinking, you begin to think at a higher level. When you read about discipline, you start behaving more disciplined. When you read about courage, you start facing challenges boldly. When you read about gratitude, you feel more appreciation for the small blessings around you. Slowly, the teachings become part of who you are. You begin to embody the wisdom you consume. Reading in the morning builds self-leadership. It means you are guiding your mind with intention instead of letting external forces guide it for you. You are telling your brain, this is the direction we are moving in today. You remind yourself of what matters: growth, virtue, purpose, and inner peace. This small habit helps you live with greater awareness rather than simply reacting to life unconsciously. Think of it like sharpening your sword before entering battle. Life will test you through stress, work, relationships, expectations, and unexpected difficulties. If your mind is dull, you will struggle. But if your mind is sharp, you can cut through confusion and choose your response wisely. Morning reading is that sharpening. It prepares you to engage with life consciously rather than defensively. This habit also helps you stay connected to your values. The world constantly tries to distract you, tempt you, and pressure you into acting in ways that go against your true nature. But when you nourish your mind early with noble thoughts, you strengthen your character. You remember what kind of person you want to be: honest, humble, disciplined, compassionate, courageous. These values become your compass throughout the day. Feeding your mind noble thoughts is like lighting a lamp in a dark room. It brings clarity. It helps you see more clearly. It reveals what is important and what is not. It makes you more present, more thoughtful, and more intentional. It connects you to something greater than your daily worries and reminds you that your inner world is the most valuable thing you own. So every morning, spend a few minutes learning something that elevates you. It doesn't have to be difficult. It simply needs to be meaningful. Let those ideas enter your mind before anything else. Let them guide you, inspire you, challenge you, and help you grow. When you feed your mind with wisdom, you build a strong inner foundation that no negativity can easily shake. This is how strong minds are formed, not by chance, but by feeding them with truth, wisdom, and noble thoughts each morning. 5. Practice voluntary discomfort. Do something that builds courage. Modern life has made comfort extremely easy. With just a few clicks, we can order food, entertain ourselves endlessly, and avoid almost any task that feels challenging. While convenience is helpful, too much comfort weakens the mind. It teaches you to avoid difficulty, to run from challenges, and to believe that life should always feel smooth. When the mind is trained to choose comfort, it loses its strength, resilience, and courage. This is why the Stoics believed deeply in the power of voluntary discomfort, purposefully doing what is difficult so that life cannot break you later. Voluntary discomfort is not about punishing yourself or seeking pain. It is about training your mind to stop fearing discomfort. Every time you face something uncomfortable on purpose, you remind yourself that you are capable, adaptable, and stronger than your fears. The Stoics practiced this daily. They would expose themselves to simple hardships, not because they needed to, but because they understood a powerful truth. If you only do what feels easy, your mind becomes soft. But if you learn to endure discomfort willingly, you become prepared for anything life brings. There are many ways to practice voluntary discomfort in the morning. Some people take a cold shower, not because they enjoy the cold, but because facing something unpleasant teaches the mind to remain calm under pressure. Others begin their morning with physical exercise, pushing their body beyond what feels comfortable. Some choose to delay their first cup of tea or coffee, or fast for a short period. These practices strengthen the mental muscle that says, "I can do hard things, even when I don't want to." The value of this practice is not in the act itself, but in the message it sends to your mind. When you choose discomfort, you take control. You tell your brain that your desires do not rule you, that you are the master of your actions. This gives you tremendous psychological power. Most people run from anything uncomfortable: confrontations, difficult tasks, new challenges, unfamiliar opportunities. Their fear becomes their cage. But when you voluntarily face difficulty, even in small forms, that cage begins to dissolve. Think of your mind like a sword. If you never use it against resistance, it becomes dull and fragile. But when you place it under stress, pressure, and challenge, it sharpens. Voluntary discomfort is the sharpening process. It prepares you for real life, because when difficulty comes unexpectedly, as it eventually will not crumble. You have already trained yourself. You have practiced staying calm when things felt tough. You have built emotional armor. There will always be days when you feel resistance, when your mind gives you excuses, when your body feels lazy, when your thoughts try to convince you to take the easy path. These are the most important moments. If you only do hard things when you feel motivated, you will never grow. True strength is built when you do what is necessary, even when you don't feel like it. That is where discipline is born. That is where conviction forms. And that is how a strong mind is created. When you purposely face difficulty, it also rewires your relationship with fear. Instead of seeing discomfort as something frightening, you begin to see it as an opportunity to grow. You become curious, not scared. You begin to realize that discomfort does not destroy you. It strengthens you. Most of the things you fear are not actually dangerous, they only feel uncomfortable. When you intentionally step into that feeling, you learn that you are more capable than you believed. This habit also trains your emotional resilience. The more you teach your mind not to panic under slight discomfort, the less it will panic under real emotional pressure. Someone may criticize you. You might lose an opportunity. Plans may fail. If you have never practiced discomfort, these events will overwhelm you. But if you have trained your mind, you will remain steady. You will be able to think clearly and take proper action without losing control. Voluntary discomfort gives you confidence. When you push through something challenging in the morning, you carry a quiet sense of strength throughout the day. You know you didn't choose the easy path. You prove to yourself that you can rise above your feelings. This energy changes how you walk, how you speak, how you think. You approach life with more boldness. You stop avoiding tasks that once seemed overwhelming. Your mind begins to say, if I can handle that, I can handle this too. The goal is not to make life harder for no reason. The goal is to prepare yourself so that when life becomes hard, you are not caught unprepared. Life will always present you with challenges, financial stress, emotional loss, health struggles, relationship difficulties, unpredictable events. You cannot escape difficulty, but you can prepare for it. And when you do, hardship becomes easier to handle because you have built inner strength. Voluntary discomfort can be practiced in small steps. You don't need to start with something extreme. The most important thing is consistency. Doing something slightly difficult every day is far more beneficial than doing something extremely difficult once. Over time, these small challenges compound into a powerful mindset, one that sees discomfort not as an enemy but as a teacher. At its core, this practice teaches you a simple Stoic truth. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Strength is not built while resting. It is built while pushing. It is built while stretching your limits. It is built while stepping into unfamiliar territory. By embracing discomfort every morning, you make your inner world stronger than your outer circumstances. You become more adaptable, more courageous, and more prepared for whatever life sends your way. That is how you build a strong mind, not by avoiding difficulty, but by walking into it with purpose and training your spirit to rise. Liu, think of death to value life memento mori. One of the most powerful teachings of Stoicism is summed up in two simple words, memento mori, remember that you will die. To some people, this idea sounds dark, negative, or depressing, but the Stoics understood it differently. They believed that remembering death is not about fear, it is about clarity. When you deeply understand that your time on this earth is limited, everything in your life becomes more meaningful. Every moment becomes precious. Every breath becomes a gift you cannot waste. Most people live as if they will have unlimited time. They delay their dreams, postpone their goals, avoid important decisions, and accept lives that do not fulfill them. They wake up day after day, repeating the same routines without purpose or awareness. They assume they will always have tomorrow. But tomorrow is never promised. Whether you live another 60 years or 6 days, no one truly knows. Memento mori is the reminder that life is happening now, not later, not someday, not when everything is perfect. When you actively remind yourself each morning that your time is finite, you begin to see your day differently. The little frustrations that used to upset you, traffic, annoyances, minor problems, start to lose their power. You stop wasting energy on things that do not matter. You stop holding grudges. You stop taking people for granted. You stop ignoring your potential. You begin to focus more on what is meaningful, your growth, your relationships, and your purpose. Thinking of death brings your priorities into focus. It forces you to ask yourself hard but honest questions. If today were my last day, how would I live it? What would I spend my time on? Who would I speak to? What would I say? What would I let go of? These questions might seem dramatic, but they reveal something important. Much of what we worry about is trivial, temporary, and meaningless. So much of our stress comes from things that will not matter in the end. When you remember that none of us are guaranteed more time, you stop living in the past and future. You begin living right here, in the present moment. This practice also teaches humility. No matter how wealthy, powerful, or famous someone is, everyone is equal in the face of death. This simple truth dissolves arrogance and makes room for gratitude. It reminds you that you are not above anyone, nor are you below anyone. Each person is given a limited amount of time, some more, some less, but none of us control the clock. What you do control, however, is how you use the time you have. Memento mori does not ask you to be afraid of death. Instead, it encourages you to be awake to life. When you remember that you cannot live forever, you naturally start valuing your days more. You begin to pay attention to the small blessings around you, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of laughter, the presence of loved ones, the opportunity to learn something new. You begin to appreciate the simple act of being alive. Suddenly, ordinary moments become extraordinary. This awareness also pushes you toward action. When you know time is limited, you stop waiting for the perfect moment to take the first step. You stop saying one day or someday. You start today. You stop procrastinating. You begin projects you once feared. You take risks. You express your feelings. You make peace with people. You pursue what matters instead of chasing meaningless distractions. You understand that life is not about how long you live, but how deeply you live. Memento mori builds courage. It helps you face challenges with greater resilience because you know that fear is temporary, but regret is permanent. You realize that the pain of growth is far smaller than the pain of knowing you never tried. When death is in your awareness, you stop letting fear make your decisions for you. You begin choosing growth over comfort, purpose over pleasure, meaning over distraction. In addition, this practice softens the heart. When you remember that everyone you meet is also mortal, you treat them with more compassion. You become more patient. You stop judging harshly. You listen more carefully. You forgive more easily. You begin to see others as fellow travelers with limited time, just like you. You understand how fragile life is, not only yours but everyone. This awareness creates deeper connection and reduces unnecessary conflict. Memento mori also helps you overcome attachment. Knowing everything is temporary reminds you not to cling to material possessions, titles, or achievements. You realize that true fulfillment comes from inner growth, virtue, character, and wisdom. These are the only things that remain valuable even as time passes. The Stoics taught that the purpose of life is not to live forever, but to live well. And living well means being present, being aware, and being grateful for each moment you have. Imagine waking up every morning and silently acknowledging that this day is not owed to you, it is a gift. Immediately, your attitude shifts. You feel grateful, you feel motivated, you feel responsible. You no longer take life for granted. You begin using your time more wisely. Each morning becomes a chance to start again, to improve, to express love, to contribute something meaningful, to become a better version of yourself. When you hold memento mori in your heart, you stop resisting life. You accept its uncertainty, knowing that every moment you're alive is proof that you still have purpose. You stop trying to control everything. You stop fighting change. Instead, you learn to flow with life and embrace its impermanence. This is where peace comes from, not from knowing what will happen, but from accepting that you don't need to know. Ultimately, remembering death gives you a deeper appreciation for life. It reminds you that living with awareness, gratitude, courage, and purpose is the truest form of strength. It teaches you to stop drifting and start living intentionally. And when you begin your morning with this understanding, each day becomes more meaningful than the last. 7. Build inner gratitude. Count what is good. Gratitude is one of the simplest practices in life, yet it is also one of the most transformative. Many people think gratitude is just about saying thank you from time to time, but in truth, it is a deep state of awareness, a way of seeing the world that reshapes your entire inner experience. To practice gratitude is to train your mind towards strength, clarity, and emotional stability. It is not a passive feeling, it is an active discipline, one that must be practiced every morning if you want to build a strong mind. When most people wake up, their mind immediately looks for what is wrong. They think about the problems waiting for them, the challenges they fear, and the things they lack. Their thoughts immediately shift toward anxiety and worry. Before they even take their first step out of bed, they have already drained their inner energy by focusing on negativity. This is the default mental pattern when gratitude is absent. The mind becomes a hunter of problems, a collector of complaints. Even if life offers blessings, the untrained mind fails to notice them because it is too busy searching for what is missing. The Stoics understood that gratitude is not dependent on external conditions. It is an internal choice. They taught that everything we have, even the smallest things, should be seen with appreciation. The fact that you wake up in the morning is itself a blessing. You have been given another chance, a chance to breathe, to learn, to grow, to connect, to move forward. Many people did not receive that gift today. If you woke up healthy, that is another blessing. If you woke up with shelter, with people you care about, with the ability to think and act, you are already richer than millions. Yet people overlook these things because they seem ordinary. But gratitude teaches you that nothing about life is ordinary. When you intentionally practice gratitude in the morning, you are teaching your mind to focus on what is present rather than what is missing. This simple shift changes how you feel, how you think, and how you respond to the world. Gratitude strengthens your emotional foundation. Challenges become easier to navigate because you are already anchored in what is good. You are not starting your day from a place of lack. You are starting from abundance. A grateful heart remains steady even when life becomes difficult because it remembers that there is still much to appreciate. Gratitude does not deny pain or pretend that everything is perfect. Rather, it reminds you that even in difficulty, there is still beauty, growth, and opportunity. A grateful mind does not ignore suffering, it carries the strength to endure it. When you build gratitude, you are not closing your eyes to hardship. You are keeping them open to all the blessings that coexist with hardship. Pain may exist, but so does love. Struggle may exist, but so does progress. Fear may exist, but so does courage. Gratitude reminds you to see the full picture, not just the darkest parts. Our minds naturally mirror the thoughts we feed them. If you begin your morning by focusing on what's wrong, your problems, your worries, your failures, your day will likely continue that way. But if you begin by recognizing what is good, everything else becomes more manageable. Gratitude prepares the mind to respond with wisdom instead of panic. It gives you inner stability. It turns your attention inward, where peace begins, instead of outward, where chaos lives. To practice gratitude, you do not need grand gestures. You do not need to write essays or perform rituals. Simple awareness is enough. When you wake, pause before rushing into activity and ask yourself, what is one thing I am grateful for right now? It might be your health, your family, a warm bed, a new opportunity, the sunlight coming through the window, or simply the ability to breathe. As you acknowledge these things, take a moment to feel them fully. Let that feeling wash over you. Even 2 minutes of this practice can shift your mental state. Some people struggle to feel gratitude because they compare their lives to others. Comparison is the enemy of appreciation. It traps the mind in endless competition and makes you blind to your own blessings. The Stoics taught that you should look inward rather than outward when evaluating your life. Instead of comparing yourself to others who have more, compare yourself to who you were yesterday. Compare yourself to the version of you who once wished for what you have now. Compare yourself to those who live with less. Not to pity them, but to understand that your blessings are not small, they are simply unseen. Gratitude also teaches humility. It reminds you that much of what you have came not only from your efforts but also through the help of others, your parents, teachers, friends, mentors, and countless people whose contributions shaped your life. This realization dissolves ego and strengthens connection. When you acknowledge the support you've received, you become more compassionate and appreciative of others. A grateful mind is also more resilient. When you train yourself to recognize what's good, even in difficult times, you develop mental strength. You no longer crumble under pressure because your mind knows that hardship is temporary and that goodness is still present beneath the surface. Gratitude becomes your anchor, holding you steady when storms arise. Even when you lose something or someone, gratitude helps you remember the joy that existed rather than only the pain of loss. It helps you honor what was rather than drown in grief. Research in modern psychology confirms what the Stoics taught centuries ago. Gratitude rewires the brain. It strengthens positive neural pathways and weakens negative ones. Over time, your mind learns to look for beauty, opportunities, and solutions instead of problems. This changes your emotional baseline. You become happier, more peaceful, and more fulfilled, not because life becomes easier, but because you become mentally stronger. Some people believe they cannot practice gratitude because their lives are difficult. But gratitude is not dependent on circumstances. In fact, people who have suffered deeply, who have faced illness, war, loss, are often the most grateful because they understand how fragile life is. They have learned to value every small blessing because they know how easily it can be taken away. Gratitude grows strongest in those who have seen life clearly. When you make gratitude a daily practice, it affects the way you treat others. You become kinder because you understand that everyone is carrying something unseen. You become more patient, more forgiving, less judgmental. You recognize that everyone, like you, is trying to make the most of their limited time. Gratitude makes you more open-hearted, turning strangers into teachers and challenges into lessons. Practicing gratitude each morning creates a ripple effect throughout your day. You begin noticing beauty in ordinary things, the warmth of your tea, the sound of rain, the laughter of a friend, or the quiet moments of peace. You stop rushing through life unconsciously. You begin paying attention. Awareness becomes your guide, and with awareness comes wisdom. You will still face problems. Life will still test you. Nothing can change that. But gratitude ensures that even when difficulty comes, you never lose sight of the good. You do not collapse because your strength does not come from circumstances, it comes from within. Gratitude builds that inner strength slowly, consistently, quietly, until one day you realize that the things that once overwhelmed you no longer have the same power. Each morning, take time to count what is good. It might feel simple, but it is one of the strongest mental habits you can develop. Gratitude is your shield. Gratitude is your guide. Gratitude is your inner home. And when you live from that place, nothing can easily shake you. You walk through the world with a calm heart and a clear mind, knowing that no matter what happens, there is always something to appreciate. That is the essence of a strong mind, not perfect circumstances, but a powerful perspective. 8. Decide your standard. Choose who you will be today. Every morning, before life throws its challenges at you, before people speak to you, before circumstances demand your attention, you are given a brief moment of power, the power to decide who you will be today. Most people do not make this decision consciously. They wake up and let the day pull them in every direction. They react to problems, absorb other people's moods, and allow random events to determine their mindset. Instead of leading their day, they follow it. Instead of acting with intention, they move out of habit. This is why they feel overwhelmed, inconsistent, and emotionally unstable. The Stoics believed that the foundation of a strong mind is identity, knowing the type of person you choose to be before the world tests you. They taught that your values must be decided ahead of time. Otherwise, emotions and external events will decide for you. When you wake up each morning, you have the opportunity to define your standard, your level of patience, your attitude toward challenges, your commitment to discipline, your devotion to kindness, and your willingness to live with virtue. These are not things you wait for situations to bring out. You cultivate them before situations arise. Think of identity as your internal compass. When a compass is steady, no matter how the world moves around it, its direction does not change. When you choose your standard each morning, you become that compass. You remain centered, grounded, and stable. Life may be unpredictable, but your character is not. You do not lose yourself in frustration just because circumstances are hard. You do not become cruel just because someone else is rude. You do not stop trying simply because results take time. You respond to life from a place of intention rather than reaction. Imagine two people waking up to the same day. One wakes up without intention. He does not decide who he wants to be. The first challenge he faces traffic, an argument, a small inconvenience shakes him. He reacts emotionally, becomes upset, and his entire day spirals into frustration. He blames everything around him, believing that external situations are the cause of his unhappiness. The second person wakes with intention. Before stepping into the world, he chooses his standard. Today, I will remain patient. I will focus on solutions rather than problems. I will not allow negativity to disturb my inner peace. When he faces the same challenges, traffic, conflict, inconvenience, he remains calm. He reminds himself of the identity he already chose. Instead of reacting, he responds, "The day does not control him. He controls how he experiences his day." Nothing about their circumstances is different. The difference is internal. One lives without intention. The other lives with intention. One gives away his power. The other guards it. One is controlled by emotions. The other leads with wisdom. This is what it means to decide your standard every morning. Most people assume their identity is automatic. They say, "This is just who I am." But the truth is, identity is a choice. You are not forced to be the same person you were yesterday. You are not trapped by your past reactions. You can decide, right now, the type of character you want to build. Every day is a new beginning, a new chance to align with your highest values. You do not need permission. You only need intention. This is the power of self-governance, the ability to rule yourself. The Stoics believed that if you cannot govern your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions, then no external victory matters. You may succeed in the world, but inside you remain weak. Real success begins with mastering your inner world. When you decide who you will be, you are building the foundation of that mastery. Choosing your standard does not mean you will never struggle. You will still face difficulty. You may still feel anger, frustration, sadness, or fear. But when you have a standard, you know how to guide yourself back to stability. You do not drown in your feelings. You observe them, accept them, and choose your response. You remain in control. You may choose to be patient, but something will test your patience. You may choose to be disciplined, but laziness will appear. You may choose to be kind, but someone may treat you poorly. These tests are not signs of failure. They are opportunities to practice your identity. A value that is never tested is not truly developed. You build patience by being tested. You build courage by facing fear. You build discipline by doing what you do not feel like doing. Every challenge becomes a chance to strengthen your chosen character. When you decide your standard in the morning, you reduce the chaos inside your mind. You no longer wonder, "How should I handle this?" You already know. You move through life with intention rather than confusion. You stop making decisions from impulse. Instead, you make decisions aligned with your principles. This gives you peace, clarity, and self-respect. Mediocrity is not a lack of talent, it is a lack of standards. Many people drift through life accepting the lowest expectations of themselves. They allow laziness to lead their choices. They let temporary feelings guide long-term outcomes. They expect results without effort. But nothing meaningful grows in such soil. To build a strong mind, you must demand more from yourself. You must decide the type of person you want to be and hold yourself to that standard, even when no one is watching. This is not easy. It requires honesty. It requires self-discipline. It requires the courage to confront your own weaknesses and choose growth instead of comfort. But this practice is what separates the strong from the ordinary. Strength is not a gift. It is a decision repeated every day. When you choose your standard, you inevitably say no to things that are beneath your values, no to negativity, no to excuses, no to unhealthy habits, no to people who drain your energy, no to behavior you are ashamed of. At the same time, you say yes to what builds you, yes to discipline, yes to honesty, yes to courage, yes to responsibility, yes to growth. You begin to live in alignment with your highest self instead of your lowest impulses. This alignment creates inner peace. When your actions match your values, there is no internal conflict. You know you are living rightly. You know you are honoring your principles. This gives you a deep sense of confidence that no external achievement can replace. You trust yourself. You respect yourself. You walk through life with a quiet strength that others can feel. Choosing your standard also protects your energy. When you have already decided who you want to be, you do not waste time debating your actions. You are not easily influenced by others. You do not chase trends or try to impress people. You do not change your behavior depending on who you are with. You remain the same because your identity is rooted inside, not borrowed from outside. Identity becomes your armor. The world may throw stones, but your character absorbs the impact. You may face rejection, but you remain secure. You may face loss, but you remain steady. You may face temptation, but you remain grounded, because your standard is already chosen, and you will not abandon it lightly. This does not mean you must be perfect. No one is. You will make mistakes. You will fall. You will lose your temper at times. But because you have a standard, you can return to your path. You can correct yourself. You can learn. You can improve. Each day becomes an opportunity to realign with your chosen identity. When you decide your standard every morning, you are not just preparing for the day, you are shaping your life. Your values determine your actions. Your actions determine your habits. Your habits determine your character. And your character determines your destiny. Everything begins with the small, quiet decision you make within yourself each morning. Who will I be today? This practice, repeated daily, builds a strong, unshakable mind. It teaches you that circumstances do not define you. Other people do not define you. Your emotions do not define you. You define you. And when you take that responsibility, you gain power over your life. So every morning, before the world opens its doors, pause for a moment. Decide your standard. Choose your identity. Speak it clearly within yourself. Carry it throughout your day. Protect it. Honor it. Live it. Because when you decide who you will be, the world cannot decide it for you. And that is the mark of a strong, awakened and sovereign mind. Joe, detach from what you cannot control. Start your day with mental freedom. One of the greatest sources of suffering is the mind's habit of clinging to expectations, opinions, outcomes, and the behavior of others. When you wake up each morning, you carry invisible weight, worries about the future, judgment about the past, and anxiety about things outside your influence. This weight steals your peace before the day even begins. The Stoics recognized this deeply, which is why they built their philosophy around a simple yet powerful principle: focus only on what you can control and release the rest. Most people wake up and immediately think about things that are not in their control. They worry about how someone will treat them today, whether the day will go smoothly, whether opportunities will come, or what others think of them. Their mind leaves the present moment and travels into imaginary scenarios, most of which never happen. And yet, these scenarios create real emotional suffering. If the mind is trained to cling to what is outside its control, it will live in fear, insecurity, and confusion. But when it learns to let go, it becomes light, stable, and free. Each morning offers a clean mental slate. You have the chance to release yesterday, to let go of old frustrations, painful interactions, or mistakes. But this release does not happen automatically. You must choose it. Ask yourself, what is truly in my power today? Your thoughts, your attitude, your effort, your choices, your words, that is what belongs to you. Everything else, the reactions of others, the outcomes of your actions, the timing of events, the opinions people hold, the opportunities that arrive or do not arrive, these do not belong to you. When you understand this divide, a peaceful transformation begins. You stop wasting energy trying to control things that were never yours. This frees your mind. You become more present, less anxious, and more capable of handling life with grace. Imagine starting your morning by mentally sorting everything in your life into two simple categories: things I can control, things I cannot control. Then, make a commitment to focus only on the first category. This one habit can reduce a lifetime of suffering. The Stoics did not believe in passivity. They believed in action, directed action. They taught that you must commit fully to what is within your power. Work hard, think clearly, act wisely, speak truthfully, and give your best effort, but then release the outcome. Once you have done your part, worrying accomplishes nothing. It only drains the mind, weakens the spirit, and wastes time. Many people believe that worrying shows care or responsibility. But worry does not solve problems, it only multiplies them. When you worry, your body tenses, your mind becomes cloudy, and your creativity shuts down. You become less effective at solving the very problems you fear. By releasing what you cannot control, you give yourself the mental space to respond intelligently. You approach challenges calmly rather than reacting from panic. Detachment is not indifference. It is not emotional numbness. It is clarity. It is understanding that you can deeply care about something while accepting that you cannot control every aspect of it. For example, you can love someone fully while accepting that you cannot control their behavior or decisions. You can work passionately while knowing that results are not guaranteed. You can pursue a dream wholeheartedly while understanding that the path will unfold in ways you cannot predict. When you practice morning detachment, you protect your inner world. You stop allowing external turbulence to disturb your peace. Someone may speak rudely, plans may change, delays may happen, Nothing outside can shake you because your focus is rooted in where your power actually lies. You are guided by principles rather than conditions. This inner freedom has practical benefits. When your mind stops obsessing over what it cannot control, it gains more space to focus on what matters. You become more productive because your energy is not wasted on imaginary problems. You become more present because your awareness is no longer scattered. You become more compassionate because you understand that everyone, including you, is navigating forces beyond their control. Instead of blaming or resenting others, you respond with patience and understanding. Morning detachment also strengthens resilience. When setbacks occur, you do not interpret them as personal failures. You know that outcomes do not define your worth. Your effort, integrity, and choices do. You stop feeling defeated by circumstances because you understand that circumstances are not the true battleground. The battleground is within. The Stoics practiced this principle daily. Marcus Aurelius, despite being emperor of Rome, constantly reminded himself that many things were outside his control: war, sickness, politics, betrayal. He focused his energy only on what he could control: his decisions, his character, and his perspective. If the leader of the largest empire in the world could accept his limited control, then surely each of us can do the same. In daily life, detachment might look like this. You wake up and choose not to be anxious about things you cannot predict. You release the need to control other people's opinions. You choose not to replay uncomfortable conversations from yesterday. You let go of the fear of outcomes. You simply focus on showing up with honesty, discipline, presence, and courage. When you detach from what you cannot control, you naturally become more emotionally stable. You ride the waves of life instead of fighting them. You stop trying to rearrange the world to suit your comfort, and instead arrange your inner world to withstand discomfort. This is true power. The mind becomes like a tree rooted deeply, flexible yet unshakable. Winds may push and storms may come, but the tree remains grounded because its strength does not depend on the weather. Your strength grows the same way. When you stop tying your peace to external conditions, nothing can steal it from you. Practicing detachment also teaches you acceptance. Acceptance does not mean giving up. It means seeing reality clearly without resistance. When you stop fighting reality, you free your energy to influence what can actually be changed. You no longer waste time wishing things were different. You use your time to take action where action is possible. Acceptance brings clarity. Clarity leads to wise action. Wise action creates better outcomes. Each morning, remind yourself, I will focus on what is mine to control, and I will release what is not. This simple sentence is a doorway to inner freedom. You will notice your energy rising, your anxiety decreasing, and your thinking becoming sharper. You become calmer in conversations, more thoughtful in decisions, and more patient in difficulties. Life becomes less threatening because you realize that peace comes from within, not from controlling the outside. Detachment is a lifelong practice. Some days will be easier than others. Some days your mind will try to cling again. That is normal. The goal is not perfection. The goal is awareness. When you notice yourself worrying about what is outside your control, gently guide your attention back to what you can influence. Over time, this becomes your default habit, and your inner world becomes a place of strength rather than chaos. When you begin your morning with this mindset, you step into the world with freedom. You are not chained to outcomes or opinions. You walk lightly yet confidently, guided by values rather than fear. You do your best, let go of the rest, and trust that life will unfold as it should. This is the essence of Stoic strength, not controlling the world, but mastering your inner response to it. A person who learns to detach from what they cannot control becomes unbreakable. No disappointment can destroy them. No chaos can conquer them. No failure can define them. Because their strength does not come from controlling everything around them, it comes from controlling themselves. And when you control yourself, you have already mastered the most important realm in life. 10. Accept the day as it comes, flow with life, instead of fighting it. Every morning, you step into a world you cannot fully predict. No matter how carefully you plan, life has a way of introducing surprises, some pleasant, some difficult, some neutral. A person who expects everything to go perfectly will always be disappointed. But a person who accepts the nature of life, that it changes, moves, challenges, and tests, becomes far more peaceful, resilient, and mentally strong. The Stoics understood that suffering often arises not from what happens to us, but from our resistance to what happens. The more tightly you try to control reality, the more reality pushes back. But when you learn to accept the day as it comes, with openness instead of tension, you find inner freedom. Acceptance does not mean passivity. It does not mean giving up or letting life drag you randomly. It means seeing reality clearly, without unnecessary emotional struggle. It means recognizing that some things will unfold differently than you imagined, and that resisting them only creates more pain. Most people wake up with a rigid picture of how their day should go, and when life does not match that picture, when plans shift, someone disappoints them, or difficulties appear, they feel frustrated, irritated, or defeated. Their peace becomes fragile, held hostage by circumstances, but circumstances will always change. The stronger path is not to demand control over life, but to strengthen the mind so that it remains calm regardless of life's movement. Stoic thinkers compared life to a river. The river does not stop flowing because a traveler wants calm water. It continues its path, sometimes gentle, sometimes wild. The person who tries to fight the river will exhaust themselves, but the one who learns to move with it, not resisting its current, but guiding themselves through it, reaches their destination with much less struggle. In the same way, when you accept that your day may hold unexpected currents, you no longer panic when challenges arise. You adjust, remain steady, and continue moving. When you wake up in the morning, remind yourself that today will unfold in ways you expect and ways you cannot foresee. There may be delays, discomfort, misunderstandings, or surprises. Accept this truth before the day begins. Doing so creates emotional flexibility. Instead of crumbling when things go differently, you adapt. Adaptation is one of the greatest strengths a person can have. A rigid mind breaks easily. A flexible mind bends and maintains its shape. Most emotional suffering begins with the phrase, "This should not be happening." But life does not follow our preferences. It follows its own nature. When you argue with reality, you always lose because reality is bigger, stronger, and uncontrollable. The Stoics urged people to shift from "this should not be happening" to "this is happening now, how will I respond?" That one mental change transforms frustration into power. It keeps your attention on what you can influence your response, rather than wasting energy fighting what you cannot. Accepting the day as it comes does not mean welcoming every difficulty with a smile. It means acknowledging reality without emotional exaggeration. Let's say you encounter traffic. A rigid mind erupts in anger. Why is this happening to me? This ruined my day. But traffic is simply a fact of life. Getting angry does nothing except harm your inner peace. A flexible mind says, "This is the situation. I will use this time to breathe, reflect, or simply be patient." The situation does not change, but your experience does. You preserve your peace by accepting what you cannot change. This practice expands beyond inconveniences. Sometimes life brings bigger difficulties, sudden loss, illness, betrayal, or unexpected responsibilities. Acceptance does not remove pain, but it allows you to face pain with clarity instead of drowning in resistance. When you fight the truth of a situation, when you say, "This should not have happened," you add a layer of suffering on top of the pain. But when you accept that it has happened, you remove the emotional poison of denial. You free your mind to focus on healing, growth, and what must be done next. The Stoics taught that life is not defined by events themselves, but by our judgment of them. Two people can experience the same situation and have entirely different internal responses. One becomes consumed by anger, the other becomes wiser and more compassionate. The difference is not in the event, but in the mind that interprets it. Acceptance is the tool that allows the mind to interpret life without emotional distortion. Each morning, reflect on the truth that you do not know what the day will bring. You may meet someone who changes your life. You may receive unexpected news. You may face a challenge that strengthens you. You may discover a new opportunity, or you may simply move through an ordinary day, learning from small moments. When you approach your day with openness, everything becomes a teacher. Nothing catches you off guard. You stop seeing life as an enemy and start seeing it as a guide. Acceptance also frees you from the exhausting pursuit of perfection. Many people waste years waiting for the perfect conditions before they act. Perfect timing, perfect mood, perfect opportunity. But perfection never comes. Life is always slightly messy, slightly inconvenient, slightly unpredictable. When you accept this, you stop postponing your life. You do your best with what you have, where you are, as things are. Progress becomes possible because you are no longer waiting for everything to align before you begin. Accepting the day also means accepting yourself. You are not a machine. Some mornings you wake up energized, other mornings you feel tired, sad, or unmotivated. Instead of attacking yourself for not feeling your best, accept your inner state and move gently forward. Acceptance does not mean letting your feelings control your actions. It means acknowledging your feelings without judging them. You can say, "I feel low today," and still behave with discipline. Acceptance allows honesty, and honesty creates emotional strength. It is important to understand that acceptance is not surrender. It is not giving up on improvement. Rather, it is the beginning of true improvement. You cannot change something you refuse to acknowledge. When you accept reality, you build from truth instead of illusion. Illusion leads to frustration. Truth leads to progress. Morning acceptance builds peace. Peace does not come from perfect circumstances. It comes from a mind that is not in constant battle with what is. When you stop fighting reality, you stop creating unnecessary suffering. Your mind relaxes, your body loosens, you become more present. You are able to enjoy simple things: air, movement, food, people without demanding that life be different before you can be content. Accepting the day as it comes also strengthens trust. Trust in yourself and trust in the unfolding of life. You realize that you are capable of handling whatever comes. You understand that every experience, even unpleasant ones, contains lessons that serve your growth. Instead of fearing life, you become curious about it. You begin to see challenges as opportunities, not punishments. You stop thinking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start thinking, "What is this teaching me?" When you adopt this mindset, nothing can truly defeat you. You remain calm under pressure. You adapt when plans change. You recover quickly from setbacks. You do not crumble when life surprises you because you expect surprises. You are mentally prepared. Start each day with a simple but powerful thought. Whatever happens today, I will meet it with clarity and strength. This attitude does not remove difficulty, but it transforms your relationship with difficulty. You become a participant in life rather than a victim of it. You remain grounded even when the ground shifts beneath you. The world often celebrates people who force and control, but true strength belongs to those who can bend without breaking. Trees survive storms not because they resist the wind, but because they sway with it. In the same way, a strong mind is not rigid, it is adaptable. It welcomes reality, works with it, and grows through it. So, as your mornings begin, do not demand that life obey your plans. Simply set your intentions, do your best, and accept the rest. Walk through your day with openness, patience, and a willingness to learn. Let life unfold naturally. Trust that every experience has meaning. When you stop fighting the flow of life, you begin flowing with it. And in that flow, you find peace, wisdom, and true inner strength. That is the quiet power of acceptance. It gives you freedom. 11. Strengthen your inner dialogue. Speak to yourself, not against yourself. Every morning, before you speak to anyone else, you are already in conversation with yourself. This silent, unseen dialogue shapes the direction of your entire day. The words you whisper inside your mind can either uplift you with confidence and clarity, or they can silently destroy your spirit with doubt, fear, and criticism. Most people are unaware of this inner conversation. They believe thoughts simply appear and that nothing can be done about them. But the Stoics understood that the mind can be trained. They knew that the way you speak to yourself determines your level of strength, discipline, and peace. Your inner dialogue is the foundation of your reality. If you wake up telling yourself, "I'm tired, I can't do this, I'm so behind, nothing ever works for me," you begin your day from a place of weakness. Even before the world challenges you, you have already challenged yourself with negativity. You place a heavy weight on your shoulders that nobody else has put there. You carry a battle inside you before you've faced a single situation outside. And often, this inner battle is the hardest one to fight, not because the world is harsh, but because we can be harsh to ourselves. A strong mind is not built through external accomplishments alone. It is built through the inner words you choose to believe. If your inner dialogue is your enemy, no victory in the outside world will ever be enough. But if your inner dialogue becomes your ally, even the challenges of life cannot break you. Most negativity does not come from the world. It comes from the untrained inner voice that repeats old patterns. Many people speak to themselves with doubt, shame, or fear because they were conditioned to believe those messages. Maybe someone once criticized them harshly, dismissed their efforts, or made them feel unworthy. Over time, they internalized those voices and made them part of their identity. They do not need external enemies because they became their own. But this can change. You can choose to speak to yourself differently. You can decide to build, not break. When you wake up each morning, notice the first thoughts that rise in your mind. Are they filled with panic, worry, and insecurity? Or are they calm, confident, and intentional? If your thoughts are negative, do not judge yourself. That only adds another layer of negativity. Instead, observe them. Understand that they are just thoughts, not facts, and gently replace them with better ones. You might say, "Today is a new day. I will do my best. I am capable of growth. I don't have to be perfect to make progress." These words are not magical, but they create a healthier mental environment. They give your mind direction. They plant seeds of strength instead of seeds of fear. The Stoics taught that the most important conversations are the ones you have with yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote reminders to himself every morning, notes about patience, humility, resilience, and purpose. He wasn't writing to impress others. He was training his inner voice to stay aligned with virtue. This is a powerful practice you can adopt. Write or repeat simple truths. I can handle what comes. I will respond with calm. I am not defined by yesterday. I choose growth. These messages slowly reshape your inner dialogue. Your inner voice becomes your companion throughout the day. When something goes wrong, that voice can either say, "This always happens to me. I'm so unlucky." Or it can say, "This is challenging, but I will learn from it." When you face uncertainty, your inner voice can either say, "I don't think I can do this," or "I don't know how yet, but I'm willing to try." One message creates fear. The other builds courage. One closes doors. The other opens them. Training your inner dialogue is not about pretending everything is positive. It is not about lying to yourself or ignoring real problems. Instead, it is about choosing the most constructive interpretation of your reality. It is about recognizing that the words you speak inside your mind affect your emotions, decisions, and behavior. A destructive inner voice weakens your ability to act, but a supportive inner voice strengthens your ability to face anything. Negative inner dialogue often appears in three forms: self-doubt, "I can't do this"; self-criticism, "I'm not good enough"; catastrophizing, "Everything will go wrong." These messages create fear and paralysis. They make you hesitate, back down, and avoid challenges. They drain your energy before life even begins to test you. But you can counter them through conscious awareness. When self-doubt arises, remind yourself of past challenges you overcame. When self-criticism appears, remind yourself that effort matters more than perfection. When catastrophizing tries to scare you, remind yourself that you can handle difficulties step by step. You do not need to shout to change your inner dialogue. Quiet, consistent reminders are enough. The mind learns through repetition. Even gentle messages, spoken daily, can reshape your entire identity. Over time, your inner dialogue will shift from being an enemy to a coach, one that encourages you, challenges you, and helps you rise. Building supportive inner dialogue also requires honesty. Sometimes, your inner voice must tell you the truth you have been avoiding, not to shame you, but to help you grow. For example, your inner voice might say, "I know you feel tired, but showing up today will make you stronger. Or, you made a mistake, but you can learn from it. These messages are grounded in clarity, not self-attack. They hold you accountable while still supporting you. Think of your inner voice as a teammate. If your teammate is constantly criticizing you, telling you that you will fail, and insulting your abilities, would you want to play with them? Probably not. But if your teammate acknowledges your weaknesses and still encourages you to try, learn, and improve, you would trust them. You would grow. Be that kind of teammate to yourself. Your inner dialogue is also the foundation for how you interact with others. If you speak harshly to yourself, you will often speak harshly to others. If you doubt yourself, you will doubt others. If you judge yourself, you will judge others. But when you develop self-respect through supportive inner speech, you naturally extend that respect outward. Compassion toward yourself grows into compassion toward others. Changing your inner dialogue takes time. You are trying to rewrite mental patterns that may have existed for decades. Some days you will succeed easily. Other days you may fall back into old habits. That is normal. What matters is consistency. Each morning, check in with your inner voice. Are you speaking to yourself with kindness, clarity, and strength? If not, gently redirect. There is no need for self-punishment, only self-guidance. Here is a powerful morning practice. When you wake up, place your hand on your heart, even for a moment, and speak to yourself like someone you care about. You might say, "I believe in you. I will take care of you today. We will face things together." These simple words create emotional safety. Most people never hear such encouragement from themselves. When they finally do, it feels like coming home. Your inner dialogue becomes especially important during moments of challenge. When life is easy, anyone can speak positively. But when you fail, when someone hurts you, when plans fall apart, that is when your inner voice reveals its true nature. If that voice becomes cruel, you will break. But if that voice says, "This hurts, but we will get through it," you remain strong, you rise again. The way you speak to yourself becomes your emotional climate. A hostile inner climate breeds anxiety and insecurity. A supportive inner climate breeds courage and stability. This is why strengthening your inner dialogue is essential to building a strong mind. Without it, you remain fragile, dependent on external validation. With it, you become self-sustaining. Imagine two people facing the exact same setback. One says internally, "I'm such a failure. I'll never recover. Why do these things always happen to me?" Their mind collapses under its own weight. The other says, "This is difficult, but I'm capable. I've overcome challenges before. I can learn from this." Their mind remains stable. They keep moving. The difference is not in the situation, it is in the conversation inside their mind. Your inner dialogue is the lens through which you see the world. If the lens is dirty, everything looks distorted, threatening, overwhelming, hopeless. But if the lens is clear, the world appears manageable, meaningful, and full of possibilities. Clean your lens every morning with intentional words. You do not need to be your biggest critic. You can be your strongest ally. You can be the voice that pushes you forward, lifts you when you fall, and reminds you of who you are when you forget. Speak to yourself as someone worth protecting, guiding, and believing in. Because you are. When your inner dialogue becomes strong, compassionate, and wise, your outer life begins to reflect that strength. You walk with more confidence. You approach challenges with curiosity instead of fear. You recover from setbacks faster. You take responsibility for your life instead of blaming others. You stop chasing validation because you find validation within. A strong inner voice is not built in a day, but it is built every day. Each morning, recommit to speaking to yourself in a way that builds your mind instead of weakening it. Over time, this practice becomes your greatest source of power. The world may challenge you, people may misunderstand you, circumstances may shake you, but your inner voice will steady you. And when your inner voice becomes your ally, nothing outside of you can defeat you. That is the true strength of a trained mind. 12. Reflect on your purpose. Remind yourself why you live this day. Every morning, before you step into the noise of the world, you are given a quiet doorway, a moment where you can choose to live with purpose or drift through the day without direction. Most people wake up and immediately jump into tasks, messages, routines, and obligations without ever asking themselves a simple, life-shaping question. Why am I living this day? Without purpose, a day becomes just another random sequence of activities, actions without meaning, motion without intention, effort without soul. And when enough purposeless days pass, life begins to feel dull, heavy, empty, and directionless. A strong mind must never wake without purpose. The Stoics believed that we must greet each dawn with clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a person should rise each morning knowing why they are alive and what kind of human being they intend to be. Purpose is not something handed to you. It is something you consciously choose. It is not found randomly. It is cultivated. It begins with guiding your consciousness toward meaning before the world overwhelms you with distraction. When you reflect on your purpose in the morning, you awaken the deepest part of yourself, the part that wants growth, not comfort, wisdom, not confusion, peace, not chaos. You move from merely existing to fully living. Without this reflection, your mind becomes weak because it is pulled by every passing desire, emotion, or external influence. But when you anchor yourself to purpose, you stand firm like a tree rooted deep into the earth. Even when winds blow, even when storms appear, you remain steady. Purpose does not need to be complicated. You do not have to know your lifelong mission every morning. What matters is that you direct yourself toward meaning even in small ways. For example, your purpose today may be to practice patience, to deepen your craft, to support your family, to learn something new, to serve others, to become more disciplined, or simply to live with more kindness. Purpose begins with intention, and intention gives direction. When you do not reflect on purpose, you fall into autopilot. You wake, eat, work, talk, react, sleep, repeating the same patterns, thinking the same thoughts, never questioning if you are moving closer to a meaningful life. Over time, this drift drains your spirit. You begin feeling lost, frustrated, or stuck, not because life is unfair, but because your mind has forgotten its reason for moving. A day without purpose is like a ship without a compass. It moves, but with no promise of ever arriving anywhere. Morning purpose is powerful because it guides every decision that follows. When you know why you are doing something, challenges become lighter. You feel less resistance, less fear, less confusion. A person with purpose can endure discomfort because they know what they are moving toward. A person without purpose collapses at the first obstacle because they have no deeper reason to continue. Purpose shapes your energy. When you reflect on what truly matters, you stop wasting time on trivial thoughts and meaningless concerns. You begin noticing what deserves your attention and what must be ignored. Purpose teaches you to value time because you understand that every moment spent without intention is lost forever. When you live with purpose, you begin to say no more often, no to distractions, no to wasted days, no to people and habits that make you smaller, and each no becomes a powerful yes, a yes to what matters. Many people confuse purpose with achievement. They think purpose must be grand to change the world, to build an empire, to reach a perfect vision. But purpose is not always dramatic. Sometimes your purpose is simply to improve 1% today, to face your fears, to treat others with dignity, to be present with your loved ones, or to deepen your inner peace. Purpose lies in the small but intentional choices we make every day. These small acts accumulate and eventually shape our character and destiny. Reflecting on purpose also protects the mind from comparison. When you know your own direction, you stop measuring your life by others' accomplishments. You stop competing in meaningless races. You stop envying those who appear ahead of you. You understand that each person has their own path, their own timing, their own lessons. Purpose turns your attention inward toward your growth, your journey, your soul, and when your focus is inward, you feel less pressure from the outside world. Morning reflection also helps you align with your values. We often say we care about honesty, kindness, courage, or discipline, yet we live days that betray those values. Reflection reminds you of who you want to be and helps you embody that person. This alignment between values and action is where integrity is born. And integrity creates self-respect, one of the most powerful forces in the human spirit. When your actions honor your values, you feel whole. When they don't, you feel fragmented. Morning purpose brings you back into unity. Reflecting on purpose helps you become intentional, not impulsive. Instead of reacting to whatever life throws at you, you respond with clarity. Someone insults you? Instead of anger, you respond with dignity because your purpose is self-mastery. Plans change unexpectedly? You adapt because your purpose is flexibility. Work becomes difficult? You persevere because your purpose is growth. Purpose transforms chaos into opportunity. This practice also builds emotional resilience. When suffering comes, and it will, because suffering is part of life, purpose gives you strength. You endure because your life has meaning. Viktor Frankl once said that those who have a why can survive almost any how. Purpose gives you the ability to bear pain without losing hope, to keep moving even when the path is unclear, to trust that every experience is shaping your growth. Purpose is not something you find once and never revisit. It must be renewed daily. Each morning is a new contract you sign with life, a promise that you will live this day with intention. Without renewal, purpose fades. That is why reflecting every morning is essential. It keeps the flame alive. And the more you reflect on your purpose, the clearer it becomes. You may begin with a small intention, but over time, that intention deepens into conviction, into something worthy of your entire life. Here is a simple morning ritual. Sit quietly, breathe. Ask yourself, what truly matters today? Who do I choose to be right now? What actions will honor my values? Answer honestly, not with what others expect, but with what your soul whispers. You do not need perfect clarity, you only need sincerity. Even one sentence can guide your entire day. As you move through your morning, hold your purpose gently like a compass. Let it guide you, but do not become rigid. Sometimes life will pull you in unexpected directions, and that is fine. Purpose is not a prison. It is a guide. It reminds you where north is, even when the path twists. With daily reflection, you begin noticing that your life feels more coherent. Days no longer blur into one another. Your actions gain meaning. Your mind grows stronger. You feel less lost and more alive. You stop drifting. You begin navigating. Purpose is not outside you. It is already within you, waiting to be remembered. Morning reflection is the act of remembering. When you know why you rise differently. You walk with more intention. You speak with more clarity. You love with more depth. You endure with more strength. You live with more aliveness. And when you reflect on your purpose every morning, you are no longer just surviving. You are becoming. 13. Rehearse your challenges. Prepare your mind before the day tests you. One of the most underrated Stoic secrets for building a strong mind every morning is the practice of mentally preparing for the challenges and difficulties that the day may bring. Most people hope their day will be smooth, easy, and predictable. They wake up expecting things to go their way, that people will behave exactly as they wish, that tasks will be simple, that emotions will remain calm. But this expectation sets them up for disappointment. The world does not bend to our desires. People do not always act as we want. Even our own bodies and emotions do not always cooperate. So when reality differs from expectation, frustration begins, anger rises, and inner peace disappears. The Stoics understood this deeply. Rather than hoping the day would be easy, they mentally rehearsed possible challenges in advance, not to scare themselves, but to prepare themselves. They greeted each day with emotional armor, a mindset strong enough to handle whatever might come. This practice was called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of difficulties. Marcus Aurelius began his mornings by reminding himself that he would likely meet people who were selfish, jealous, rude, ungrateful, or misguided. Seneca reminded himself that life could bring loss, illness, delay, or hardship at any moment. But instead of fearing these things, they accepted them as normal parts of living. When you mentally rehearse challenges in the morning, you remove the element of surprise. You strengthen your emotional foundation before the world tests you. You are not caught off guard by difficulty because you already expected that difficulty is part of life. You walk into your day with calm anticipation instead of blind hope. This makes your mind stronger, more stable, and more resilient. Imagine the mindset of a soldier who has trained for battle versus one who has not. The first moves through chaos with clarity because he has already imagined the noise, the panic, and the pressure. He is not overwhelmed because he expected all of it. Meanwhile, the untrained soldier collapses under stress because he thought everything would remain peaceful. Life is similar. If you expect only peace, challenges overwhelm you. But if you accept that challenges will come, you face them with greater confidence. This does not mean that you become negative or assume the worst. Stoic preparation is not pessimism, it is realism. It is understanding that life contains both beauty and difficulty. You learn to hold both truths at the same time. It is like carrying an umbrella when the sky is cloudy. You hope the rain doesn't come, but you are ready if it does. When you rehearse your challenges each morning, you are not predicting specific events. You simply remind yourself that the day may bring stress, unexpected problems, or emotional triggers. You acknowledge that other people may not treat you perfectly. Some may misunderstand you. Some may speak harshly. Ignore your efforts, complain, or carry their own inner struggles. When you accept this in advance, you become less reactive. You are not disappointed when people act human. You meet imperfection with patience. This practice protects your peace. Many emotional wounds arise not from the events themselves, but from the shock of them. You feel hurt not only because something happened, but because you believed it shouldn't have happened. You feel angry not only because someone acted rudely, but because you expected them to behave differently. By rehearsing your challenges, you remove that secondary shock. You no longer demand that life behave perfectly. You simply respond to what is. Think of how different your morning becomes when you wake with this mindset. Today may not go exactly as I want. People may challenge me. Unexpected problems may arise. My emotions might fluctuate. But I am prepared. I choose to remain calm, patient, and centered. This simple mental posture gives you inner balance. You are not thrown off course by every inconvenience. You do not lose your temper easily. You do not carry unrealistic expectations. Instead, you practice flexibility, the ability to bend, not break. Rehearsing your challenges also strengthens your emotional discipline. When you imagine a possible difficulty, for example, someone yelling at you or a plan failing you, give yourself time to think about how you want to respond. Will you react with anger or respond with clarity? Will you panic or remain level-headed? Will you complain or take responsible action? By thinking ahead, you train your mind to respond from wisdom rather than emotion. This is similar to practicing a skill before performing it. If you rehearse your lines, you perform them smoothly. If you rehearse your actions, you execute them confidently. If you rehearse your emotional response, you handle challenges gracefully. You are not reacting blindly. You are acting consciously. You can practice this mentally each morning. Take a few quiet breaths. Reflect on possible difficulties. Then intentionally connect those difficulties with a calm response. For example, if someone criticizes me today, I will listen calmly and not take it personally. If delays or obstacles arise, I will adjust patiently. If I face temptation to procrastinate, I will remain disciplined and take small steps forward. These quiet rehearsals are not fantasies. They are rehearsals of virtue. You are practicing patience, resilience, courage, discipline, and understanding. You are preparing your character for real-world situations. This preparation builds self-trust. When challenges do arise, and they will, you do not panic. You recognize them as part of the day you already anticipated. You think, here is the moment I prepared for. And instead of collapsing, you rise. You remain stable. You act from intention rather than impulse. This builds confidence. You begin to trust that you can handle life's challenges. Instead of fearing difficulty, you face it with readiness. Rehearsing challenges also helps you avoid emotional overreaction. When something unexpected happens, your first reaction may be emotional anger, fear, annoyance, but a trained mind pauses before responding. A trained mind remembers, I knew something like this might happen. I can choose my response. This pause gives you power. You are no longer a slave to emotion. You become the master of your behavior. When you practice this repeatedly each morning, you strengthen the mental pathways that support calmness. Over time, Calmness stops being something you try to achieve. It becomes your natural state. You become a person who is rarely shaken, rarely disturbed, rarely reactive. Life becomes easier not because circumstances change, but because you have changed. Rehearsing your challenges also teaches humility. It reminds you that you are human, that you will make mistakes, and that others will too. When you remember this, you become more forgiving. You stop expecting perfection from others or yourself. You accept the flaws that make us human, and this acceptance dissolves frustration before it begins. You treat others with more compassion because you understand that everyone is carrying burdens you cannot see. Morning preparation also brings clarity to your values. When you think about how you want to respond to challenges, you are choosing the principles that guide your life. Do you want to respond with anger or with patience, with ego or with humility, with fear or with courage? By rehearsing these choices daily, you strengthen the identity you want to embody. You become someone who responds rather than reacts, someone who observes rather than collapses, someone who learns rather than complains, someone who adapts rather than resists. The benefits of this practice accumulate quietly over time. At first, it may feel small, just a few minutes of reflection, but day after day, like drops of water shaping a stone, this mental rehearsal shapes your character. It turns you into someone who is mentally prepared, emotionally intelligent, and spiritually grounded. You begin to live with less fear because you trust yourself. You live with less anxiety because you accept uncertainty. You live with more peace because you no longer demand that life be easy. When you rehearse your challenges every morning, you train the mind to walk into life with open eyes instead of closed ones. You stop hoping for a perfect day and start preparing for a real one. And in that preparation, you find strength, the quiet, unwavering strength of someone who is ready for whatever life brings. This is the way of the Stoic, not hoping for a softer world, but building a stronger mind. 14. Reconnect with your highest self. Align your actions with your inner truth. One of the greatest forms of strength is living in alignment with your highest self. Every morning, before the world pulls you in different directions, you have a sacred opportunity to reconnect with who you truly are beneath the noise, beneath your fears, beneath your insecurities, beneath the expectations of others. This connection sets the emotional and spiritual tone for your entire day. When you know who you are and where you stand, life cannot easily confuse you. But when you forget yourself, the world decides for you, and nothing is more painful than betraying your inner truth. Your highest self is not some mystical idea. It is the deepest, most honest version of you, the you that knows what is right, even when it is difficult. The you that desires growth over comfort. The you that is courageous, compassionate, disciplined, humble, and wise. It is your inner compass. It always speaks quietly, patiently, but most people are too distracted to hear it. Each morning is a chance to listen. When you wake up and immediately rush into activity, you disconnect from your inner truth and enter life unconsciously. You drift. You fall into old habits. You behave automatically rather than intentionally. You allow the external world, other people, emotions, situations, to dictate who you will be. This is how people lose themselves, not in sudden dramatic moments, but slowly, through unexamined mornings and unconscious decisions. Reconnecting with your highest self in the morning is the remedy. It helps you remember what matters. It brings your awareness back to your inner world before you engage with the outer world. When your internal state is clear, steady, and purposeful. You carry that stability into everything you do, your relationships, your work, your choices, and your challenges. To reconnect with your highest self, begin by becoming still. Silence is where truth lives. When you sit quietly in the morning, without distraction, you begin to feel what is real inside you, your hopes, your values, your strengths, your fears, your desires. You witness your own mind instead of being dragged by it. This witnessing creates space. Space allows clarity, and clarity allows wisdom. Ask yourself simple but powerful questions. Who am I becoming? What kind of person do I want to be today? What would my highest self choose in this moment? These questions guide your attention inward. They remind you that life is not just about doing, it is about being. You may notice that the highest version of yourself already knows the answers. It knows the right choice. It knows what needs to be done. The problem is not lack of wisdom, the problem is lack of alignment. You know what to do, but distractions, fear, or laziness pull you away. When you take a few minutes each morning to tune into your highest self, you strengthen the bridge between knowing and doing. Your choices become aligned with your values rather than your impulses. Alignment creates inner peace. When your actions and values match, there is no internal conflict. You feel whole, you trust yourself. But when you behave in ways that contradict who you want to be, you feel emotional pain, shame, anxiety, confusion, guilt. This pain is not punishment, it is guidance. It is your soul telling you that you have drifted away from your truth. Morning alignment prevents that drift. Your highest self is not motivated by ego. It is not obsessed with validation, comparison, status, or approval. It cares only about growth, virtue, authenticity, and contribution. When you reconnect with this part of yourself, your priorities become clearer. You stop wasting time trying to impress others. You stop shortchanging yourself to fit in. You stop chasing things that do not nourish you. You begin to live from the inside outward rather than outside inward. This practice strengthens discipline. When you align your daily actions with your inner truth, you no longer rely on motivation. You act because it is who you are. A disciplined life is not built on constant inspiration. It is built on identity. If you see yourself as someone who lives with integrity, discipline follows naturally. You do hard things because your highest self expects it. You honor your commitments because you made them from a place of truth. Reconnection also builds courage. The highest self is bold. It is not afraid of challenges because it sees them as opportunities for expansion. It is not concerned with failure because it knows failure is part of growth. It is not afraid of discomfort because it understands that comfort never made anyone great. When you act from your highest self, fear does not disappear, but it no longer controls you. Your decisions come from strength, not weakness. Aligning with your highest self in the morning also helps you deal with other people. When you show up grounded in who you are less affected by others' opinions, moods, or behavior. Some people will misunderstand you, some will criticize, some may judge. But if you are aligned internally, their words cannot shake you. You act from authenticity, not approval. You no longer need anyone's permission to live truthfully. And paradoxically, when you stop needing validation, people respect you more because they feel your calm certainty. Another powerful aspect of reconnecting with your highest self is the clarity it brings to decision-making. Many people suffer not because life is difficult, but because they are indecisive. They hesitate, overthink, and doubt. They live in mental tension. But when you begin your day aligned with your inner truth, decisions become easier. You know what to do because you know who you are. You stop wasting energy on "what if" and start acting from "what is right." This alignment also brings emotional freedom. When you live according to your highest self, you are no longer imprisoned by guilt, regret, or self-betrayal. You stop replaying the past and worrying about the future because you trust your present actions. This inner trust is priceless. It gives you stability even when life is unstable. Reconnecting with your highest self also nurtures compassion. When you live truthfully, you develop empathy for others who are still lost or afraid. You stop judging harshly. You stop holding grudges. You begin seeing others as travelers on their own challenging journey. Your heart becomes softer. Your presence becomes warmer. You uplift others not by preaching, but by example. This practice does not require hours. Even a few minutes each morning is enough. Silence, reflection, intention, connection. These simple actions open the doorway to your highest self. Over time, the connection deepens. You begin to carry that awareness throughout the day. Eventually, the line between morning self-reflection and daily living disappears because you begin living from your highest self consistently. Alignment is not perfection. You will make mistakes. You will act from fear occasionally. You will lose connection sometimes. But each morning offers a return. Forgive yourself. Begin again. The highest self does not demand flawlessness. It only asks for honesty and effort. Every day, you are shaping your character. Every choice you make is a vote for the person you are becoming. The more you choose alignment in small moments, waking up on time, speaking kindly, telling the truth, working with focus, honoring commitments, the stronger your identity becomes. Eventually, living from your highest self becomes natural. When you reconnect with your highest self every morning, you stop living reactively. You stop drifting. You stop betraying your inner truth. You begin living purposefully, courageously, and peacefully. You create a life you are proud of, not because it is perfect, but because it is authentic. This is true success, success of the soul, not the ego. A strong mind begins with this alignment. Without it, no achievement brings peace. With it, even ordinary days become meaningful. This is the quiet strength of a person who knows themselves, honors themselves, and lives from the deepest truth within. Reconnecting with your highest self each morning is not just a habit. It is a way of being. 15. Master the power of pausing. Respond, don't react. One of the greatest abilities a human being can develop is the ability to pause, to create a small moment of stillness between what happens to you and how you respond to it. Most people live imprisoned by their reactions. Something triggers them: a rude comment, a delay, a piece of bad news, and they immediately explode in anger, frustration, fear, or sadness. Their emotions act first, their wisdom acts later, if at all. And in those impulsive moments, they often make decisions they regret. They say words they cannot take back. They behave in ways that betray their values. The lack of pause becomes the source of their suffering. The Stoics taught that freedom begins the moment we learn to pause. Because in that pause lies choice, the choice to respond with strength rather than react with weakness. The pause is small, sometimes lasting only a second, but it is in that 1 second that the entire quality of your life is determined. Most people don't realize how powerful that brief moment is. They believe emotions are stronger than reason. They think reactions are automatic and unstoppable, but the truth is far more empowering. Reactions are not destiny, they are habits. And like any habit, they can be trained, reshaped, and mastered. Every morning, you have an opportunity to practice this skill. You may think pausing is a skill only for moments of conflict or chaos, but it begins long before that. It begins with awareness. It begins with remembering that you always have the power to choose your response. When you wake up, your mind is fresh. If you enter your day rushing, checking messages instantly, worrying about tasks, reacting to every thought, you've already lost your pause. You've already allowed your emotions to run ahead of your awareness. But if you start your morning slowly, intentionally breathing deeply, noticing your thoughts, grounding yourself, you expand the space within you. That space is where the pause lives. And once it exists in the morning, it becomes easier to find throughout the day. The pause is not silence. It is strength. It is the invisible shield that guards your character. It is what prevents others from controlling your inner state. When someone behaves badly toward you, without a pause, you inherit their energy. They give their negativity to you, and you accept it. You absorb it. You pass it forward. But with the pause, their negativity stops with you. It does not enter your spirit. It dies before harming you. That is power not over others, but over yourself. Pausing is how you break the chain of emotional inheritance. Without it, you are ruled by external forces, people, situations, moods. With it, you become sovereign. You govern your inner world. The pause allows you to ask, what is the wisest response right now? Not the fastest, not the loudest, not the most emotional. The wisest. This question alone can change your life. When a challenge arises, big or small, your first emotion may not be noble. Anger may appear, fear may appear, anxiety may appear. This is normal. Emotions are not your enemy, but emotions are not commands. They are signals. Interpret them, but do not obey them blindly. The pause gives you time to recognize your emotion without being consumed by it. You learn to say, I feel anger, but I will not act from anger. Instead, you act from clarity. This is emotional maturity, responding with intention, not impulse. You might wonder why reacting feels so automatic. It's because your mind has been trained that way. When you react instantly, it is because your emotional brain fires first, and your logical brain wakes up later. But with training, your mind learns to activate the logical brain sooner. The pause strengthens your inner leader, not your inner child. Each morning is your training ground. Begin with small pauses. When you wake, before you reach for your phone, pause. When you drink water, pause and feel its coolness. When a thought arises, pause before believing it. These small pauses build the muscle. Then, when bigger challenges come later in the day, your mind is ready. Pausing also requires presence. You cannot pause if you are constantly lost in thoughts of the future or memories of the past. The more present you are, the easier it is to notice the space between stimulus and response. Presence is not complicated. It is simply the act of paying attention. When you are brushing your teeth, be there. When you are walking, be there. When you are listening to someone speak, be there fully. Presence widens your inner space, and in that space, you find your power. The pause also protects your relationships. Many relationships are destroyed not by events but by reactions. A careless word spoken in anger can create wounds that last years. A rash decision made in panic can change the direction of a life. But when you pause, you give yourself the chance to respond with kindness, patience, empathy, or restraint. This does not mean you suppress your truth. It means you deliver your truth with wisdom. Think about the times you have reacted impulsively. Perhaps you regret those moments. Regret teaches us the importance of pause. That regret is not a punishment, it is a teacher. It shows you where your inner space was too small. Now you have the chance to grow it. Pausing is especially powerful when dealing with criticism. Most people fear criticism, and when they hear it, they react defensively or aggressively. But criticism often holds truth, and even when it doesn't, it is still useful. The pause allows you to listen fully before responding. It helps you separate message from emotion. It helps you ask, is there something I can learn here? This is how humble people grow, by pausing before rejecting or absorbing criticism. The pause also helps you deal with mistakes. Without it, you may panic, blame others, or collapse into shame. But with it, you can acknowledge the mistake, learn from it, and move forward. You stop attacking yourself. You stop drowning in regret. You take responsibility without destruction. Pausing is also essential in decision-making. Many bad decisions come from urgency, from the belief that you must act immediately. Most of the time, you do not. Most of the time, rushing harms more than waiting. The pause gives you clarity. It lets you step back, breathe, and see the bigger picture. It prevents you from making emotional decisions that cost you peace, money, relationships, and time. A mind without pause is chaotic. A mind with pause is calm, even in chaos. The Stoics did not deny emotions, they mastered them. They did not suppress their feelings, they understood them. They used the pause as a tool to access their highest wisdom, rather than drown in their most primitive impulses. They knew that reacting was easy, but responding with clarity was the mark of true strength. The pause is not weakness. It is not hesitation. It is control, quiet, steady control. Anyone can shout, anyone can panic, anyone can react, but it takes strength to pause, observe, and choose. This is why pausing is a mark of a strong individual. But here is the truth. The pause is a practice, not an achievement. Some days you will succeed. Other days you will fail and react automatically. That is okay. When you fail, pause afterward. Reflect on what happened. Learn. Try again tomorrow. The purpose is not perfection. The purpose is awareness and growth. You will notice that the more you practice, the more naturally the pause comes. Over time, it becomes part of your identity. You become the person who thinks before speaking, who breathes before reacting, who observes before acting. You become steady and dependable to yourself and others. Your presence becomes calming. People feel safe with you. They trust you. They respect you. And you respect yourself. Pausing helps you reclaim your life. Without it, you are controlled by impulses, emotions, and external circumstances. With it, you take your power back. You live intentionally, not automatically. You grow instead of repeat. You lead instead of follow your reactions. Each morning, remind yourself, between what happens to me and how I respond, there is a space. In that space lies my freedom. In that freedom lies my strength. That is the power of pausing. If you master this, even imperfectly, Nothing outside of you can control you again. 16. Train your attention, guard your focus, like your life depends on it. Every morning, before anything else has the chance to touch your mind, you are given a choice. Will you direct your attention, or will the world steal it from you? Your attention is your most precious resource. It is more valuable than time, because time without attention is wasted. Two people may both receive 24 hours each day, yet one moves mountains while the other accomplishes nothing, not because one had more time, but because one had more focus. Attention is the steering wheel of your life. Where you place it determines where your life goes. If you do not command it, someone else will. Yet most people begin their mornings by surrendering their attention to the world. Before they even rise from bed, they open their phones, scroll endlessly, react to messages, check notifications, and immerse themselves in other people's noise. In those first fragile minutes of the day, their mind becomes scattered, overstimulated, and distracted. Their attention is hijacked before they are fully awake, and once stolen, it rarely returns. A distracted morning creates a distracted life. But a focused morning builds a focused mind, and a focused mind becomes unstoppable. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote repeatedly about guarding attention, disciplining thoughts, and keeping the mind from wandering into meaningless places. They believed that the strength of a person's character depended greatly on the strength of their attention, because attention shapes perception, perception shapes thought, thought shapes action, and action shapes destiny. Nothing shapes your destiny more quietly than the places where your attention rests. Most people assume attention is passive, whatever catches it deserves it. But this is untrue. Much of what seizes your attention offers nothing in return. Most media, gossip, arguments, and distractions only take from you. They take your discipline, your clarity, your creativity, your peace. But when you control your attention, you direct your mind toward what builds you: understanding, skill, meaning, purpose, growth. Training your attention begins every morning. The first hour after waking is sacred. Your mind is soft, impressionable, and open. Whatever enters it during this window sinks deep into your subconscious. If you fill it with chaos, your day becomes chaotic. If you fill it with intention, your day becomes intentional. Before you do anything in the morning, pause. Breathe. Center yourself. Let your awareness gather. Then, choose where to place your mind. Do not let your attention run free like an untrained animal. Discipline it. Guide it. Protect it. Walk with it purposely. This training is not dramatic. It is simple, small choices, repeated daily. Instead of reaching for your phone, reach for your breath. Instead of consuming noise, consume silence. Instead of reacting immediately, observe first. Instead of scattering energy, direct it. Your attention follows what you value. If you value noise, noise will guide you. If you value growth, growth will guide you. What you attend to grows stronger, and what you neglect grows weaker. The more attention you give your distractions, the more they multiply. The more attention you give your purpose, the stronger it becomes. Attention is like sunlight. If directed into one spot long enough, it creates fire. But if spread too thin, it warms nothing. Many people work hard, but never achieve depth because their attention is split in countless directions. They attempt everything, commit to nothing, and grow nowhere. Depth requires focus. Progress requires focus. Mastery requires focus. When you train your attention, you learn to say no, not just with words, but with your mind. You stop giving energy to nonsense. You stop feeding negativity. You stop engaging with things that drain you. You stop entertaining distractions disguised as urgency. You develop the clarity to recognize what matters. And once you know what matters, you stop wasting attention on what does not. This does not mean you become rigid or isolated. It means you become deliberate. You decide what enters your mental space. You decide what thoughts deserve your time. You decide what activities deserve your energy. You decide what emotions deserve expression. You decide what conversations deserve participation. Your attention becomes your gatekeeper. This is where true power begins. Training your attention helps you separate appearance from essence. Much of the world is designed to seduce your senses, bright colors, loud opinions, constant updates. But beneath this surface lies very little value. The Stoics reminded us to examine what lies beneath appearance. When your attention is sharp, you look past the surface and see the truth. You see what is necessary and what is not. A disciplined mind observes without becoming entangled. You can witness noise without absorbing it. You can notice distraction without following it. You can hear negativity without believing it. You can see temptation without surrendering to it. Attention allows you to stay centered, even when the world tries to pull you outward. Every morning, set the intention to protect your focus. Make it a vow. What you do not defend, you lose. If you do not guard your attention, it will be stolen. Training attention is like training a muscle. It grows through effort. At first, your mind will wander easily. You will be tempted to check your phone, to rush, to multitask. But gently bring your attention back. Like guiding a child, do not punish your mind. Just lead it. Each time you bring it back, it becomes stronger. Eventually, your attention becomes steady. It stays where you place it. You begin to live with clarity. You become present. Presence is the fruit of trained attention. A present mind sees opportunities others miss. It listens deeply when others only hear. It learns when others ignore. It absorbs what others forget. It connects meaningfully while others only speak. It works with intensity while others simply move. Presence turns ordinary moments into a life fully lived. When your attention is scattered, everything feels overwhelming. Small tasks seem heavy. Simple decisions feel complicated. Stress becomes constant. But when your attention is disciplined, life feels lighter. You approach tasks with calm focus. You complete them efficiently. You move from one action to the next without internal chaos. Attention also influences your emotions. When you place your attention on problems, they grow. When you place your attention on possibilities, they expand. When you place your attention on gratitude, peace rises. When you place your attention on complaints, bitterness deepens. Emotional mastery begins with attention. Consider this. You cannot feel anxious unless your attention is on anxious thoughts. You cannot feel grateful unless your attention is on what you have. You cannot feel inspired unless your attention is on what is possible. Every feeling is born from attention. Therefore, when you train your attention, you master your emotional life. Not by suppressing emotion, but by directing your awareness. In work, attention determines success more than intelligence. A focused person makes more progress in 1 hour than a distracted person makes in 5. Because focus is the force multiplier of effort. A weak mind cannot focus because it has never been trained. A strong mind can focus because it has practiced relentlessly. Training attention also requires eliminating what weakens it. This means reducing distractions, limiting noise, and simplifying your environment. It means choosing clarity over chaos. It means designing your morning not around convenience, but around consciousness. The smaller your mental clutter, the stronger your attention becomes. A powerful morning practice is to dedicate your first moments to singular focus, one activity with full awareness. It could be journaling, deep breathing, prayer, exercise, quiet observation, or reading something meaningful. What matters is not the activity, but the quality of your attention. That single act of morning focus becomes the anchor for your entire day. Everything else flows from it. Training attention teaches you to live intentionally. Instead of reacting to life, you guide your life. Instead of being thrown by the world, you navigate it. Instead of drifting, you direct. This is what it means to be the author of your own existence. A person who controls their attention controls their mind. A person who controls their mind controls their life. This is why your attention must never be given away carelessly. Guard it like a treasure. Direct it like a tool. Sharpen it like a blade. Because in the end, your life becomes the sum of what you pay attention to. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. Where your energy flows, your life grows. Choose wisely each morning, because your attention determines the person you become. 17. Practice emotional neutrality. Stay centered, no matter what happens. Human beings naturally swing between high and low emotional states. One piece of good news can fill you with excitement, and one inconvenience can ruin your entire day. Most people live like leaves in the wind, easily carried, easily shaken, and easily broken. Their emotions change constantly based on external events. Weather, people's opinions, minor disappointments, temporary pleasures. Because their inner state depends on the world around them, they are never truly stable. Stoicism teaches, do not attach your peace to what you cannot control. This is where emotional neutrality comes in. Emotional neutrality does not mean you stop feeling or become cold. It means you stop allowing external events to dictate your inner world. You learn to stay centered, neither overly excited by gains nor devastated by losses. You learn to respond from clarity rather than react from emotional chaos. You become like a calm lake. Even when storms arrive, its stillness returns quickly. Most people believe emotional strength means feeling less, but real emotional strength means feeling fully without drowning. It means letting emotions move through you without letting them control you. Imagine a fire. When controlled, it gives warmth. When uncontrolled, it burns. Emotions are similar. They are powerful energy, but you must learn to guide them rather than let them consume you. The morning is the best time to begin this training. When you wake, your mind is fresh. It has not yet been pulled into drama, problems, or emotional triggers. This is your opportunity to set a neutral baseline to observe your thoughts and feelings without getting entangled. Some mornings you may wake with sadness, worry, or irritation without knowing why. That is okay. Emotional neutrality teaches you to accept these states without amplifying them. You simply observe, I am feeling heavy this morning. And then you continue living intentionally. This acceptance prevents emotional spirals from forming. The expectation that you should always feel good is one of the greatest causes of suffering. When you wake up feeling low, you judge yourself. You think something is wrong. You resist the feeling, and resistance intensifies it. But when you allow emotions to exist without judgment, they lose much of their power. Neutrality is not apathy, it is wisdom. You are not your emotions. You are the observer of your emotions. This distinction is everything. Most people say, "I am angry." That is identification. Neutrality says, "Anger is present." That is awareness. Identification pulls you into the emotion. Awareness creates distance. Awareness allows choice. With emotional distance, you can decide what to do before emotion becomes action. This is what the Stoics practiced daily. Marcus Aurelius wrote reminders to himself about accepting whatever feelings arrived without letting them define him. He understood that emotions are temporary and unreliable. They rise, stay briefly, and fade. To build a strong mind, you must stop holding on to them. Even joy is temporary, and that is okay. You can enjoy it deeply without needing it to last forever. Emotional neutrality also protects you from unnecessary suffering. Imagine this scenario. You plan something important and it doesn't go your way. Most people react instantly with frustration, self-blame, or anger. They create extra suffering. The event itself may be neutral, but the emotional reaction multiplies the pain. Neutrality allows you to say, "This is not what I hoped for, but let me see it clearly." Then you act wisely rather than emotionally. Neutrality brings clarity. Emotion clouds judgment. Neutrality sharpens it. When you practice neutrality, you will notice that you stop jumping to conclusions. You stop assuming the worst. You stop reacting impulsively. You begin to pause before responding. You give yourself time to understand the situation. This creates better decisions, healthier relationships, and stronger boundaries. One of the greatest benefits of emotional neutrality is stability. People who are easily controlled by emotion cannot be trusted, not by others, not even by themselves. One moment, they are full of hope. The next, they give up. One day, they love deeply. The next, they shut down. Their direction changes constantly. This instability leads to inconsistency, and inconsistency kills dreams. Emotional neutrality builds consistency. It keeps you moving even when motivation fades. It keeps you calm even when problems arise. Think of a mountain. The weather changes: rain, wind, snow, sunshine, but the mountain does not move. It remains grounded. A neutral mind is like that mountain. It witnesses the weather of emotion, yet stays steady. Neutrality also frees you from emotional manipulation. When people realize they cannot trigger you, they lose control over you. Insults, gossip, negativity, they reach you, but they do not enter you. You become emotionally self-governed. No one can destabilize you because you do not give them access to your inner world. This is true freedom. Practicing neutrality does not mean suppressing emotion. Suppression is denial. Denial leads to internal buildup, which eventually erupts. Neutrality is conscious awareness. You allow feelings to arise, but you choose your response deliberately. You don't push emotions away, you simply don't feed them. Here's a simple morning practice. When you feel an emotion, positive or negative, sit with it. Feel it in your body. Observe it. Ask, "What is this emotion trying to tell me?" Then let it pass naturally. Emotions are like clouds. They are always moving. You don't have to chase them or run from them. Neutrality also creates emotional endurance. Most people get overwhelmed not because life is too difficult, but because their reactions are too dramatic. They make small problems big with emotional exaggeration. Neutrality reduces exaggeration. It helps you see events as they are, not better, not worse, just real. You stop turning inconveniences into crises. You stop turning discomfort into despair. You stop turning temporary emotions into permanent identities. This mindset makes you resilient. You can experience stress without collapsing. You can experience setbacks without giving up. You can face uncertainty without panic. Neutrality is mental armor. It also amplifies gratitude. Many think emotional neutrality means becoming dull, but the opposite is true. When your mind is not busy overreacting, you actually see life more clearly, and you notice small joys that were previously hidden. You become grateful for simple things: quiet mornings, air moving through your lungs, the warmth of sunlight, the presence of someone you love. Neutrality brings you into the present, and presence is where gratitude lives. In relationships, neutrality prevents unnecessary conflict. When your partner, friend, or family member says something emotional, neutrality helps you listen instead of reacting. You respond with understanding. You give space instead of attacking. You calm the situation instead of escalating it. This is emotional leadership. Neutrality also stops you from personalizing everything. Not everything that happens is about you. Most of the time, people behave based on their own pain, fear, or insecurity. Neutrality lets you see this truth. You stop taking things personally. You see people as struggling beings, not enemies. Compassion grows naturally. However, neutrality requires practice. It does not come instantly. Some days you will react emotionally, that's okay. The goal is not perfection, it is awareness. Each morning you begin again. With repetition, neutrality becomes a habit. With habit, it becomes your natural state. There will still be moments when strong emotions arise: grief, joy, anger. Neutrality does not remove those emotions. It simply prevents them from controlling your decisions. You feel fully, you observe, then you choose consciously. A strong mind is not the one that feels nothing. It is the one that feels deeply, yet remains centered. If you learn to practice emotional neutrality, your life will transform. You will no longer be the puppet of external events. You will remain steady no matter what comes. You will gain the space to think clearly. You will act with wisdom. You will respond rather than react. You will build inner peace that nothing can steal. This is one of the most important morning disciplines, because how you handle emotion shapes how you handle life. Remain centered. Let life move around you, but never let it move you away from yourself. That is emotional neutrality. That is inner power. 18. Choose discomfort daily. Train the mind to grow beyond its limits. Human nature is wired for comfort. We seek warmth, ease, predictability, and safety. This instinct kept our ancestors alive. Avoiding danger meant survival. But today, this same instinct has become a trap. Comfort is everywhere: soft beds, quick entertainment, instant answers, fast food, effortless stimulation. These comforts weaken the mind. They dull the willpower. They shrink our courage. They encourage us to avoid challenge. And when we avoid challenge, we stop growing. A strong mind is not born from comfort. It is built through choice, the choice to do what is difficult when you could do what is easy. Every morning, you stand at a crossroads. One path leads to comfort, the other leads to growth. Most people, without thinking, choose comfort. They hit snooze instead of waking. They scroll instead of focusing. They delay instead of doing. They protect instead of risking. They coast instead of climbing. These choices feel harmless in the moment, but over time, they shape a weak, fearful mind. The Stoics understood that discomfort is not the enemy. Avoidance is. They trained themselves to embrace discomfort in small, intentional ways, to harden their mind, sharpen their abilities, and loosen their dependence on ease. Because they knew that if you only live comfortably, reality will eventually break you. Life is unpredictable. Pain, loss, challenge, illness, disappointment, these come to everyone. If your mind has never been strengthened through discomfort, you will collapse when life tests you. But if you choose discomfort daily, you build inner armor. You meet life's storms with resilience instead of fear. Choosing discomfort is not about suffering unnecessarily. It is about training your mind to stop running from difficulty. When you stop running, fear loses its power. Even small discomforts train your spirit, waking up early, exercising even when you don't feel like it, taking cold showers, doing the hardest task first, saying no to distractions, sitting in silence when your mind wants stimulation. These acts may seem small, but they are profound because they strengthen the most important muscle you have: discipline. Every time you choose discomfort, you send a message to yourself. I can do hard things. This message rewires your identity. It transforms your self-image from someone who escapes difficulty to someone who overcomes it. Every win, no matter how small, builds confidence. Confidence is not built from comfort. It is built from surviving challenge. Most people believe motivation is required to begin difficult tasks, but motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like weather. Discipline, however, is steady. Discipline acts whether you feel like it or not. The morning is the best place to build discipline because your first actions determine your mental tone for the day. If the first thing you do is hard, everything after feels easier by comparison. If the first thing you do is easy, everything after feels harder because you've already trained your mind to avoid discomfort. Choosing discomfort does not mean chaos. It means structure. It means controlled challenge. Think of physical training. A muscle grows only when pushed beyond its limit. Too much stress injures it. Too little makes it weak. But the right amount builds strength. The mind works the same way. Discomfort needs to be intentional and targeted. Begin small. Wake up when you said you would not when you feel like it. Work out, even if only for 10 minutes. Stand straighter when your body wants to slump. Focus for a set period, even if distraction whispers. Speak honestly, even when silence feels safer. These small discomforts create a powerful mind. Over time, something remarkable happens. What once felt difficult begins to feel natural. Morning exercise no longer feels like torture, it feels necessary. Cold showers no longer shock you, they refresh you. Doing the hardest task first no longer scares you, it empowers you. Your baseline shifts upward. Your mind adapts. The challenges that once intimidated you become easy. This is the process of mental evolution. When you choose discomfort intentionally, you begin to see that most fear is imaginary. The mind exaggerates difficulty. It creates stories. This will be too hard. I can't handle this. I'll fail. But when you act despite fear, you discover reality is far gentler than imagination. The mind's panic weakens. You realize you are stronger than you thought. You stop believing your limits. You start testing them. Discomfort is also a great teacher of presence. When you are uncomfortable, you become conscious. You feel every sensation. You enter the moment fully. Discomfort pulls you out of autopilot. It wakes your attention. That presence becomes a superpower. You begin living life fully instead of drifting through it. Choosing discomfort builds emotional resilience. When your mind is used to challenge, external events cannot easily break you. Stress no longer overwhelms you. Unexpected problems feel manageable. You remain calm in crisis. You don't crumble under pressure. You rise into it. Because you trained for moments like this. Discomfort also reveals truth. When life is easy, people hide their character. But when faced with challenge, your true nature emerges, your patience, your courage, your humility, your perseverance. Discomfort reveals what is real. It exposes your weaknesses so you can strengthen them. It exposes your excuses so you can overcome them. It exposes the gap between who you are and who you want to be so you can close it. To choose discomfort every morning means to grow every morning. Some examples: wake up when planned, not after snoozing. Take a cold shower. Start your day with exercise. Do the hardest task first. Sit in silence for 10 minutes without distraction. Skip entertainment until your work is done. Practice uncomfortable conversations. Avoid unnecessary comfort rituals. These actions send a message to your subconscious. We do not run from difficulty. This identity shift is powerful because one day, life will bring real discomfort, loss, heartbreak, failure, illness, betrayal, uncertainty. Those who lived in comfort will break. Those who trained in discomfort will endure. You become anti-fragile, not just resilient, but stronger because of challenge. Instead of avoiding pain, you use it. Instead of fearing struggle, you welcome it. Instead of collapsing under pressure, you grow under it. Many misunderstand discomfort and think it removes joy, but in truth, it increases joy. Comfort without effort becomes numbness, but comfort earned after struggle becomes fulfillment. Food tastes better when you've fasted. Rest feels sweeter when you've worked. Success feels meaningful when you've failed. Joy deepens through contrast. Choosing discomfort expands your life. When you avoid discomfort, your world becomes small. You say no to new experiences. You say no to connection. You say no to risk. You say no to growth. Eventually, you are alive but not living. Choosing discomfort widens your world. You try new things. You learn new skills. You meet new people. You take new risks. You build new futures. Life opens to you because you open to it. Each morning, remind yourself, comfort is pleasant, but growth is better. Say to yourself, today, I will choose something uncomfortable, not to suffer, but to grow. The person who walks into discomfort willingly becomes unstoppable. Because the world has no weapon against someone who can endure difficulty, you are no longer controlled by fear. You are no longer imprisoned by comfort. You develop a quiet confidence, a knowing that no matter what comes, you can handle it. A strong mind is not born from a soft life. A strong mind is built through daily challenge. Every morning, choose at least one uncomfortable action. It is a small price for a powerful mind. That is how you break limits. Not by talking, but by training. Every morning, when your eyes open, life gives you the greatest gift you will ever receive. A new chance, a fresh beginning, a doorway into possibility. Most people take this gift for granted. They wake up without gratitude, without intention, without awareness. They carry yesterday's fears, yesterday's mistakes, yesterday's identity into today, and so today becomes nothing more than a repeat of yesterday. Nothing changes because they never choose to change. But you are different now. You have learned something powerful, that every morning is a turning point. You have discovered that a strong mind is not something reserved for the chosen few. It is not a talent. It is not luck. It is not fate. A strong mind is built slowly, deliberately, repeatedly through your daily choices, through simple but profound actions that shape your character, sharpen your awareness, and awaken your potential. The lessons you have explored are not just ideas. They are tools, weapons, keys, doors. Each one gives you command over your inner world. And when you master your inner world, the outer world loses its power over you. You have learned to claim your mornings, to take control of your first thoughts, your first actions, your first emotional state. You have learned to set intention rather than waking up reactive. This alone separates the strong from the weak. The weak begin by absorbing the world. The strong begin by shaping themselves. You have learned to direct your attention, knowing that your focus determines your reality. A scattered mind leads to a scattered life. A focused mind leads to mastery. When you choose where your attention goes, you choose where your life goes. You have learned to pause, to breathe, to give yourself a moment before reacting. This gives you power over your emotions, control over your behavior, and clarity over your choices. The pause is where wisdom lives. You have learned to detach from what you cannot control and to bind your peace only to what lies within your power, your thoughts, your actions, your intentions. When you let go of the rest, you become lighter. Life becomes simpler. Pain becomes smaller. You stop suffering over what was never your responsibility. You have learned that your inner voice, the one that speaks when no one else can hear, is your greatest ally or your worst enemy. You have learned to speak to yourself with strength, honesty, and encouragement. When your inner dialogue supports you, you become unshakable. You have learned to read, reflect, and seek wisdom every morning because the words you consume become the stories you live. Noble thoughts shape noble character. Every page you read becomes a brick in the foundation of your mind. You have learned to face discomfort willingly, knowing that growth lives on the other side of challenge. The easy path builds nothing. The difficult path builds you. When you choose discomfort daily, life's storms cannot break you because you have already trained your soul to endure. You have learned to rehearse your challenges before they arrive, to expect difficulty, to prepare mentally for life's unpredictability. This removes the element of surprise and gives you the strength to respond with calmness rather than fear. You have learned to reconnect with your highest self each morning, the part of you that knows your truth, your purpose, your values. When you live aligned with that self, you stop being confused by the world. You stop betraying yourself. You walk with inner dignity. You have learned to stay emotionally neutral, to avoid being controlled by the highs or destroyed by the lows. You have learned to see situations clearly, not through the distortion of emotion, but through the clarity of awareness. Neutrality is the birthplace of peace. Most importantly, you have learned that your mornings define your life. If you win the morning, you win the day. If you win the day, you win the week. If you win the week, you win the year. And if you win the year, you win your life. The world is full of people waiting for change. They wait for motivation, for opportunity, for the right time. But waiting is the enemy of growth. There is no right time, there is only now. There is no perfect moment, there is only the morning you are given today. The strong do not wait for life to hand them purpose. They create purpose. Every morning, through action, understand something clearly. Life will not bend to your wishes. People will not always be fair. Time will not slow down. Circumstances will not always be easy. You cannot control these things, but you can control yourself. That is where true power begins. A strong mind does not guarantee an easy life. It guarantees a meaningful one. When your mind is strong, you stop fearing uncertainty. You stop needing approval. You stop being shaken by setbacks. You start trusting yourself. You begin to walk differently, not arrogantly, but confidently. You no longer need the world to validate your worth. You know who you are, and from that knowing, you build. You build discipline. You build peace. You build courage. You build clarity. You build purpose. You build a life that reflects your deepest values. And it all begins every morning, with simple actions, repeated consistently. At first, these practices may feel small. It may feel like nothing is changing, but like drops of water carving stone, each morning shapes your character. You wake with intention. You choose direction. You guide your mind. And, slowly, without even realizing it, you become someone new. The quiet strength you build today will serve you tomorrow. Your discipline today will protect you in hardship. Your attention today will create opportunities. Your emotional neutrality will guide you through chaos. Your chosen discomfort will prepare you for the storms ahead. Each morning is an investment, and the return is your life. You have to ask yourself, what kind of mind do I want to build? What kind of person do I want to be? What kind of life do I want to live? These are not questions to ask once. They must be asked every morning, because your life is created day by day, choice by choice, habit by habit. The world will continue to test you, but now you are no longer unprepared. You are armed with awareness. You are armed with intention. You are armed with discipline. You are armed with presence. And no matter what challenges come, you can face them. You are no longer the person who wakes up in chaos. You wake with clarity. You are no longer controlled by emotion. You respond with wisdom. You are no longer trapped in comfort. You seek growth deliberately. You are no longer searching for your purpose. You live it daily. You are no longer at war with your mind. You have befriended it. And, slowly, you begin to realize something profound. A strong mind is not built in special moments. It is built in ordinary mornings, when no one is watching, when nothing dramatic is happening, when you simply choose to show up for yourself. That is where greatness begins, not in the spotlight, but in the silence. So every morning, step into yourself fully. Let your first thought serve you. Let your first action strengthen you. Let your first breath anchor you. If you continue to build your mind each morning, nothing in the world can take away your peace. You will rise above pettiness. You will rise above fear. You will rise above doubt. You will rise above limitation. You will discover a strength inside you that has been there all along, waiting for you to claim it. So tomorrow morning, when you wake, Remember this truth. You are not starting from zero. You are starting from experience. The work you do today builds the strength you'll use tomorrow. Every morning compounds. Every choice compounds. You are building yourself. Slowly, patiently, powerfully. A strong mind does not appear suddenly. It is forged daily. So keep showing up. Keep choosing discipline. Keep choosing intention. Keep choosing growth. No matter how small the step, no matter how ordinary the morning, you are becoming stronger. And when the world finally sees your strength, they will call it genius. They will call it talent. They will call it luck. But you will know the truth. It was built quietly, every morning, when no one was watching.